In order to do good, a man must be good, and he will not be good except he have instruction by counsel and by example. It's a famous line by Dorothea Dix. Dear students, today let's discuss about the instruction set principles. The words of a computer's language are called instructions. The vocabulary of commands understood by a given architecture is called its instruction set. Some of the popular instruction sets are MIPS, which is a reduced instruction set computer architecture developed by MIPS computer, ARM instruction set architecture, Intel x86, etc. Discussing in detail about the instruction sets, let's discuss about the assembly language. Assembly language, often abbreviated as ASM, is a type of low-level programming language which is intended to communicate directly with a computer's hardware. So to program in assembly, we need to know about various hardwares like registers, memory addressing concept, input output, etc., and also about the instruction set. The format of an assembly statement is operation or the command or the opcode followed by the operands. For example, add RA, RB, RC. So this add is the opcode and RA, RB, RC are the operands used for the instruction. So the meaning of that instruction is the RB and RC, which consists of the operands, is added and the result is stored in the destination operand, that is RA. So we are in need of a translator which translates the assembly language into binary. So assembler is a translator which translates this human readable assembly language code into binary language. Let's look into the operations of the computer hardware. Every computer must be able to do some arithmetic operations. The MIPS assembly language notation add A, B, C instructs a computer to add two variables B and C and store the sum in A. This notation in MIPS is rigid in that each MIPS arithmetic instruction performs only one operation and must always have exactly three variables. Here the operation is add and this instruction requires three variables. Okay, it must have exactly three variables. Okay, suppose that if you want to add four variables which are in B, C, D and E and we need to store the result into variable A. The various MIPS codes required for doing that are first add A, B, C. That means we are adding the variables in B and C and the result is stored in A. Then to that we are adding the variable D. Okay, so add A, D means the sum of B, C and D is now in A. Okay, to that result we are adding E. So so the instruction add A, E means the sum of B, C, D and E is now in the variable A. Thus, it takes three instructions to add the four variables which are stored in B, C, D and E. Now let's look into some of the MIPS assembly language instructions for the category arithmetic, data transfer and logical instructions. As we just said, every assembly language instruction will be of the format opcode followed by the operands. Opcode followed by the operands. And these operands, among these operands, the first operand is the destination operand and the rest are the source operand. So the first operand is always the destination operand and the rest are the source operands. Okay. So in these operands can be either register operands or memory operands. That means we can store the data either directly in register or in the memory. If the name is prefixed by the dollar symbol, it indicates that it is a register. Okay, so when we look into this instruction, add $S1, $S2, $S3, this S1 is the destination operand, S2 and S3 are the source operands, add is the opcode. Okay, so what is the meaning of this instruction? The operands in the S2 register and S3 register is added and the result is stored in the register S1. Okay, similarly, the operands in the S2 and S3 is subtracted and the result is stored in the S1. Okay, you can go through the various instructions belongs to the category arithmetic, data transfer and logical. So these instruction formats will be differ for different instruction set architectures. Now let's discuss about the three underlying principles of hardware design, requiring every instruction to have exactly 3 operands, no more and no less, conforms to the philosophy of keeping the hardware simple. Hardware for a variable number of operands is more complicated than hardware for a fixed number. So in the case of MIPS, the design is very rigid. That means it requires that every instruction requires 3 operands, no more or no less. So this makes the hardware simple. This situation illustrates the first of the 3 underlying principles of hardware design. The first principle is simplicity favors regularity. Then second design principle is smaller is faster. And the third design principle is good design demands good compromises. First, let us discuss about the design principle 1, that is the simplicity favors regularity. Okay, let's explain this concept using some examples. In the first case, we are given with two C statements, A is equal to B plus C and D is equal to A minus E. So these two are C statements. Okay, we need to have a translator to convert this C statement into MIPS assembly language instruction. So the translator is nothing but the compiler. So the compiler translates the C statement into MIPS assembly language instruction. As we know, an MIPS assembly language instruction operates on 2 source operands and the results are placed in the one destination operand. So the corresponding MIPS assembly language instruction for the statement A is equal to B plus C is add A comma B comma C. Here the operation is plus, so the corresponding opcode is add. Okay, the destination operand is A and source operands are B and C. So the corresponding MIPS code is add A comma B comma C. Similarly, D is equal to A minus E can be converted into MIPS code as sub D comma A comma E. Okay, fine. Let's look into another example. F is equal to G plus H minus I plus J. Okay, we know that for MIPS instruction, we perform only one operation. That is, using one MIPS instruction, we can perform only one operation. So here we are having 3 instructions, three operations, 2 addition operation and 1 subtraction operation. So this C statement is translated into 3 assembly instructions by the compiler. Okay, so the first instruction is to add this G and H. The second instruction is to add I and J, then to perform this subtraction. So the first instruction is add T0, G, H. This T0 is a temporary variable which is used to store the result of the addition G and H. Okay, similarly, add T1, I, J. Then we are going to perform the subtraction between this T0 and T1 and the result is going to be stored in the F. So the third instruction is sub T0 minus T0, T1 sub F, T0, T1. Okay, so this is the corresponding, these are the corresponding assembly language instructions for the given C statement. So when we look into these statements, we can see that every MIPS instruction operates on two source operands and places the result in the destination operand. And we can perform only one operation per MIPS instruction. So all the instructions are very simple. Let's look into the second design principle, that is smaller is faster. So unlike programs in high-level language, the operands of arithmetic instructions are restricted. They must be from a limited number of special locations built directly in hardware called registers. So since we are using the registers, it will be very fast. As we know, in the memory hierarchy, the registers are in the top, right? So since we are using the registers, they are faster, and since we are using the registers, we need to have only, we can handle only a limited number of special locations. The instructions should be smaller. So the size of the register in the MIPS architecture is 32 bits. That is, group of 32 bits occur so frequently that they are given the name word in the MIPS architecture. So these 32 bits together can be called as a word. A word. So the number of registers are limited. Typically, we'll be having 32 on current computers like MIPS. So registers are the memory which are used for storing the operands of the arithmetic instructions. Usually the size of the register in the MIPS architecture is 32 bits, and we can call that as a word in the MIPS architecture. And the number of registers are also limited. Usually at 32 registers will be there. Okay. The three operands of MIPS arithmetic instructions must each be chosen from one among the 32-bit register. Okay, so we'll be having 32 different registers. So we have to store the source operands and the destination operands in one of these 32 registers. These 32 registers are of 32 bits. So we need to choose from one of the 32-bit registers. Okay. A very large number of registers may increase the clock cycle time simply because it takes electronic signals longer when they must travel further. So we'll be limiting the number of registers. Here in the case of MIPS architecture, we'll be having only a 32-bit registers. So as we said, we'll be having 32 different 32-bit registers in the MIPS architecture. And we can make use of numbers for naming these registers. So we can make use of the numbers from 0 to 31 for naming these 32 different registers. But the MIPS convention is to make use of two character names following a dollar sign to represent a register. Okay, so in MIPS, a register is represented by a dollar sign followed by two character names. Okay, for example, $S0, $S1 up to $S7, they are used for representing the saved temporaries. Then register names $T0 to $T9, they are used for storing the temporary values occurred during this arithmetic instruction. K0 and $K1, they are reserved for operating system kernel purpose. Then $ET, it is an assembler temporary. $0 is the constant value which represents the value 0. Okay, $RA, which is used for representing the return address. Okay. Okay, now let's consider the previous example, the statement f is equal to g plus h minus I plus j. Okay, we are going to compile this C statement using registers. So it is the compiler's job to associate program variables with registers. Okay, the variables f, g, h I and J are assigned to the registers $S0, $S1, $S2, $S3 and $S4 respectively. So what will be the compiled MIPS code? So first the instruction is to perform this G plus H. So G is represented by $S1, H is represented by $S2. Okay, and we can make use of a temporary variable T0 for storing the result. So the first MIPS code is add $T0, $S1, $S2. Similarly, add $T1, $S3, $S4. Then subtract $S0, $T0, $T1. Okay, so we are compiling, the compiler is associating the program variables with the registers. The variables are replaced with the register names. The complex data structures like arrays and structures can contain many more data elements than there are registers in a computer. So how can a computer represent and access such large structures? Let us look into that. The processor can keep only a small amount of data in registers. We know that we'll be having a limited number of registers. We'll be having only 32-bit registers in MIPS architecture. But a computer memory contains billions of data elements. So the data structures like arrays and structures are kept in memory. Arithmetic operations occur only on registers in MIPS instruction. So MIPS must include instructions which transfers the data between the memory and the registers, because the data structures like arrays and structures are stored in the memory itself. So while we are performing the arithmetic operations, we need to get it from the memory. So the arithmetic operations performs only in registers. So the MIPS must include some instructions which transfers the data between the memory and the registers. And such instructions are called data transfer instructions. The compiler places the proper starting address of the memory into the data transfer instructions. Memory consists of many millions of storage cells, each of which can store one bit, either as 0 or 1. Word is a group of n bits where n is called the word length. So if it is a 32-bit word, it means that it consists of 32 bits. Modern computers have word length typically range from 16 to 64 bits. So as a rule, the word length is a power of 2, 16, 32 or 64 bits. Okay. To retrieve information from memory, either for one word or one byte, the addresses for each location is required. So a k-bit address memory has 2 raised to k memory locations, namely 0 to 2 raised to k minus 1, and they are called as the memory space. To access a word or a byte from the memory, we need to get the address of the particular location. Access a word in the memory, the instruction must supply the memory address. Fine. Memory is just a large single dimensional array with the address acting as the index to that array starting at 0. So in MIPS, the words must start at the addresses that are multiples of 4. And this requirement is called as an alignment restriction. Okay, so the word addresses always starts in the multiples of 4, and this requirement is called the alignment restriction. So the address of the third data element is 2, and the value of the memory of 2 is 10. Okay. Now let's look into the MIPS code which make use of the memory operand also. We are given with a C statement, G is equal to H plus A of 8. Assume A is an array of 100 words and the compiler has associated the variables G and H with the registers $S1 and $S2. The starting address of the array A is in the $S3. So compile this into MIPS code. Okay, let's look into the solution. One of the operand is in the memory, so we need to have a data transfer operation. So first transfer the A of 8 to a register. The address of this array element is the sum of the base of the array A found in the register S3 plus the number to select the element. So we are given with the starting address of the array. So the starting address of the array is there in the S3. So to get the 8th element, we need to add that element address also, so that offset also. The data is placed in a temporary register. Let us look into that. LW $T0, 8 of $S3. So the temporary register T0 is used to store the particular element. Okay, so to the starting address of S3 we are adding 8 and we are taking that element and it is stored in the $T0. Then so now we got the element in the temporary register $T0. Now we need to add that one with the H and we need to store that one in the G. Okay, the H, the corresponding register is S2. So we are going to add S2 with the T0 and the result is stored in the S1. Okay, so the constant in the data transfer instruction 8 is called the offset and the register added to form the start address S3 is called the base register. So this S3 consists of the base address or the starting address of the array. Okay, and to that starting address we are adding this offset value to get that particular memory operand. Okay. In previous example, we saw an instruction named as LW. This LW represents load word. Where we are using this load word, it is a data transfer instruction, right? We are transferring the data from the memory to the register. Okay. Many programs have more variables than computers have registers. Consequently, the compiler tries to keep only the most frequently used variables in registers and the rest in the memory. Using this load and the store command, it moves the variables between the registers and the memory. Okay, the process of putting less commonly used variables into memory is called spilling registers. Okay, so using the data transfer instructions, we are moving the data between the memory and the register as and when it is required. So the less commonly used variables are storing in the memory itself. That process is called spilling registers. Okay. The data transfer instruction that copies the data from memory to register is called load. Okay. We are loading from the memory into the register. So the actual MIPS name for this instruction is LW, which means that load word. Okay, so we are loading a particular memory word into the register. LW stands for load word. Okay, another instruction is store. The instruction complementary to load is called store. It copies data from register to memory. The actual MIPS name is SW, which represents the instruction store word. SW stands for store word. Load word commands loads the word from the memory to the register. So it transfers the data from the memory to the register. So the syntax is LW $T0, memory address, which means that the data from the memory address is loaded into the temporary register $T0. Okay. The store word, it is denoted by SW, right? So this SW $10, memory address means from the register $T0, it is transferred to the memory address. So from the register, it is stored into the memory. Okay, so from the memory to the register, that is the load word. From the register to the memory, that is the store word. Okay, let's look at an example. Load word $s1 comma 32 of $s2. So we need to add this offset value to the s2. Okay, then we are taking that particular memory operand from that particular location, and that one will be stored in the register $s1. So that is the LW. LW stands for load word. So it loads the word from the memory location 32 plus the starting address of the memory. Okay. Then the command store word denoted by SW. SW $s1 comma 32 of $s2 means from the register S1, or the register content of the S1 is transferred to the particular memory location. This memory location is calculated by adding this offset value to the starting address given in the S2. Okay, so the content of the S2 plus 32, so that is the memory address. So to that address we are storing the register value. Okay, so that is the case of store word. Now let's look at an example which make use of this load and store command. We are given with a C statement. A of 12 is equal to H plus A of 8. A of 12 is equal to H plus A of 8. Okay, this A is a memory operand. Okay, the register S2, $s2 is associated with the variable H, and the starting address of the array A is in the $s3. Okay, two of the operands are there in the memory, so we need to make use of the proper offset for byte addressing in the load word to select A of 8. So we know that in MIPS instruction, the consecutive instructions will be stored in the multiples of 4. The addresses will be in the multiples of 4. So the first instruction will be in the address 0, then the consecutive instruction will be in the 4, then 8, 12, it goes on like that. Okay, so if we want to get A of 8, then we need to get it as 8 into 4, that is 32. So we need to add 32 to the starting address of this A. Okay, so the starting address is there in the S3. So we are adding 32, the offset value, to the starting address of S3 to get this A of 8. So we are loading this word which is in the A of 8 using the LW command. LW stands for load word. Okay, we are making use of a temporary register named as T0. Okay, so LW $T0 comma 32 of $S3. Okay. Then now we got the operand in the register. The register T0 contains that particular value. Fine. Then we are going to add that one with the H. The address of H is S2. So we are going to add $S2 with $T0, and the result is stored in the T0 itself. So add $T0 comma $S2 comma $T0. Then we need to store the result which is now in the T0 to A of 12. To A of 12. 12 means the address, the byte addressability. We need to make use of the multiples of 4. 12 into 4, that is 48. So we need to add a offset 48 to the starting address of the S3. Okay. So we are going to store the word from the T0 to this location. Okay, it stores the H plus A of 8 back into A of 12. So the $T0, the word which is in the T0 is going to be stored in this particular location. So load word and stored word are the instructions that copy the words between memory and registers in the MIPS architecture. Okay, now let's look into the third design principle. The good design demands good compromises. The compromise chosen by the MIPS designers is to keep all instructions the same length, thereby requiring different kinds of instruction formats for different kinds of instructions. So we are having three types of instruction formats: R format, I format and J format. Let us look into the R format first. R stands for the register, R type or R format. So it consists of 6 bits for representing the operation of the instruction, 5 bits each for the 2 source operands and the 5 bits for the destination operand, SH amount, that is the shift amount for the shift instructions, 5 bits for the shift instructions and the 6 bits for the function code, which selects the specific variant of the operation in the opcode. So this is the R format. Okay. Okay, now let's look at an example. We are given with an instruction. The first 6 bits represents the opcode. The next 10 bits represents the source registers, followed by the 5 bits to represent the destination register. So we are having 3 registers, 2 source register and 1 destination register. The first 6 bits represents the opcode. Okay, so this is the R type, R format, which is used for specifying the instructions which consists of register operands. The second type of the instruction format is I format. Thus, I stands for the immediate. So, it is used by the immediate and data transfer instructions. The fields of I format are 6 bits for representing the opcode of the instruction. The next 10 bits represents the register source operands, followed by a 16-bit address. The 16-bit address means a load word instruction can load any word within a region of 2 raised to 15, that is 32,768 bytes of the address in the base register RS. Okay, now let's look at an example. We are given with an immediate instruction. The opcode of the instruction is stored in the first 6 bits. The source registers are stored in the next 10 bits and the 16 bits can be used for storing the immediate value. Okay. The third type of instruction format is J format, where this J stands for the jump, and this J format is used by the jump instructions. Okay. The first 6 bits are used for representing the opcode and the remaining 26 bits are used for representing the target address. Okay. So if you are given with an instruction, the opcode is represented by the first 6 bits and the target location is represented by the remaining 26 bits. So this is the J format which is used by the jump instructions. So in this video, we discussed about the 3 underlying design principles of an instruction. Thank you.